Narativ is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Narrative Live. It's a Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. And what a day it's been. Barr, of course, had a big day in announcing several things today. And just before we got on the air, breaking news about an investigation into a bribery for a pardon investigation that the Department of Justice has been investigating against somebody who's obviously trying to buy a pardon from the President of the United States. That is something I've never heard of before. I don't know if anybody on the panel has heard anything like that before. Let's start with you, Andrew. Have you come across this before? Andrew Laufer.
It's like any other bribery. You know, you're bribing a public official for, a lawful act they're allowed to, engage in. Here we have Trump. He's lawfully allowed to engage in, the issuance of pardons and doesn't really have to give any reason why he's doing it. In general, it's for, the interest of justice, mercy, things of that nature. But what I think we're going to see a lot of involving Trump and these types of pardons is the criminal, is what is occurring, what's causing them to occur. It's corrupt in nature. We have, a corrupt basis for the issuance of the pardon, and that'll lead me into, other conversations about the validity of these pardons, where I think they're going to go down the road.
That's interesting. There definitely seems to be email communication or some other communication, hard evidence at least, of an attempt to bribe the president or someone around the president.
You know what? It's so smart. If you're going to commit bribery and crimes, you should do it via email and things that other people can, law enforcement can capture.
Very traceable stuff.
And check it out. No, I think it's great. I love how dumb these idiots are.
The only safer way is to drive to Quantico and scream it at FBI training headquarters.
Yeah, that might be the only other thing you can do. Or just do it in public like the president likes to do. This reminds me a little bit of the Rod Blagojevich thing. Remember when he tried to sell off the Senate seat in Illinois?
Disgusting.
Hey, this is a valuable thing we got here. I'm not just giving this shit away.
And again, he did it in the open, talking on the phone where people could hear him. And he got caught and, of course, went to jail for a bit of time. He's a fan of Donald Trump, so he should give him some advice on how to do these.
Complete arrogance and bravado. They think they're untouchable.
Catch people up on what happened earlier in the day, because there was Bill Barr showing up at the White House. Some say unannounced and unexpected. Some say it was a scheduled meeting. But he showed up soon after the Associated Press reported that he said that there was no evidence of any fraud in the election whatsoever. And so everyone assumed that, maybe Donald Trump got really mad and said, "You come over here right now." And then an hour later, who knows if this was a result of the meeting or not, they announced that they were making the Durham, the investigator on whether Mueller was fair, a special prosecutor, which was going to allow him to continue investigating into the next administration. So let's take each of those separately here, because it's a really interesting analysis. Firstly, how important is it that Bill Barr is saying there's no evidence of fraud in this investigation of the election? Andrew?
I mean, it's a death knell for Trump, as far as I'm concerned. You've got your AG coming out, saying the FBI and DOJ have found zero evidence of fraud or wrongdoing on the part of anyone in relation to the election, other than Rudy Giuliani and his happy fun law team filing all these frivolous lawsuits. I mean, that's the fraud what we have. That's the only fraud that's really going on right now. Abuse of discretion, abuse of process. It just totally undermines anything Trump's trying to accomplish here.
Mm-hmm. LB, this is a big moment for, and not that they were expecting anything else, but the Biden camp can certainly say now that they are. That there's nothing in their way to get them to the White House on the 20th of January.
Yeah, it was a landslide.
Yeah.
Donald's lost every single time. All of this horseshit, he just keeps losing again and again. I have a lot of pleasure in that. I'm sorry. What Barr did with Durham is the problem there is it's just more ways that we are going to be paying and wasting our money and wasting our resources on something that in the end was is just allowing them to continue with the propaganda narrative, because he's not going to find anything. The investigations. I don't know if it also kind of freezes anything to continue for a new AG to pick up what was all of the counts of obstruction that were found in the special counsel investigation, and all of the still redacted crimes in the volume 1 in the counterintelligence side of the investigation of the foreign interference in our election and all the co-conspirators and all that. I don't know whether if Durham is investigating the investigation and that's going to continue into Joe, does that in any way infringe upon an AG coming in and seeing what evidence is there and following up on prosecutable crimes, right? I don't know.
I don't think it does. Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately the special prosecutor has to report to his superior. I mean, which is why you had Sessions recused, because he was part of the the transition, the campaign. While Mueller was doing his thing and reporting to Robert Rosenstein. So I don't think it would prevent a new AG from just seeing what's going on. I mean, at the end of the day, if I doubt there's.
I'm talking about acting on it. Maybe acting on it. They could see it, but can they act on it?
I think the way it works is that the AG or whoever, if the AG, recuses whoever, maybe it's a DAG or, whoever, is going to oversee the special counsel, Durham, they would make the ultimate decision whether or not to prosecute. They always say the special counsel, this is what you need to, all right, go ahead with this one or go ahead with that one or whatever. They usually have the final say. I mean, we just, obviously after what we just went through, we want the taint of any kind of politicization out of, the legal process and judicial process. I haven't really seen any of it in the judicial process, just, just obviously, with certain people that are trying to politicize DOJ that we're getting rid of in about 50 days, which I'm very excited about.
It's kind of crazy that they're getting rid of all these trials, like Flynn and Stone and everybody, yet they still want to prosecute Mueller. I mean, it still seems like the most ridiculous notion in the world. Eric, what's your take on all this?
Well, as far as having fraud in the election, I believe that the counts were correct, but there's our old friend Louis DeJoy. Right?
Oh.
So, were there no frauds? I think we're all pretty clear that Joe Biden won, but was it really that close in Georgia? What about those votes in Texas? Did we ever get all of that sorted out? Because the U.S. Post, who took down Bannon on that Chinese billionaire's yacht? Who was it? The FBI, the SEAL Team 6?
Postal Service.
The Postal Investigative Service. And a badasses. And,
that's awesome.
They're amazing. Yeah.
They came in on their postal trucks, man, riding across the water.
So there's a lot still going on the other side of this.
They're postal boats.
I think the timing on this, now that they're like one day after Wisconsin and Arizona have certified Biden as the winner for the 127th time, which may be a record to win that many times in a single year. Now, okay, everybody knows Biden is going to be president. Like even the Burmese military is sending him congratulations, right? It's over, right? So now what's their next thing is like, oh shit, we don't want to lose the Senate. And what if there are a couple of questions there still around Mr. DeJoy, who we haven't talked about in a little bit, but I don't think we're to the bottom of everything there. So for Barr to come out and go, there was no fraud in any election. Okay, I'm listening.
Rolled out today. Plus the grifting. We saw today the report from the New York Times, the millions of dollars these guys have made, $150 million just off fundraising around the election and the fraud around the election. So this is just another opportunity potentially to keep fundraising and to keep a presence in the GOP riding high. Now to the pardons. Sorry, you want to go ahead? Go ahead, Little B.
No, I just am so tired of this stupid crime family. It's so dumb. It physically hurts me.
It does, actually. Can't they just go away?
Dumb.
So I want to talk about the pardons, because that, of course, is big news today. And for that, I got us a little Oprah surprise graphic, which I'm sure you've seen online. You get a pardon, you get a pardon, everybody gets a pardon. Because in fact, this does feel a lot like Pardon Palooza, which is LB's name for today. Because all these guys are vying, and there's actually 2 screens of this. I couldn't fit everybody onto one screen. But all these guys look like they're in the running to get a pardon, or might have even been pardoned already. Because as far as I understand it, you don't really need to tell anyone that you're pardoning people. You could just pardon them, and there's no obligation to tell the public, in fact, who you've pardoned. Andrew, is that true, that nobody needs to know who the president of the United States has pardoned?
Well, yes and no. There's no obligation for him to release, pardons, of people that, aren't currently being prosecuted. So there's no, reason for that. It's something they could just give to whomever and, yay, you're pardoned. And if there's an indictment that's unsealed, they could say, hey, look, I was pardoned, and attach this to a motion to dismiss. Okay. Like what we've seen, done by DOJ today regarding Flynn. And notice, I think I pointed this out actually on Twitter, that they made a motion here, like they did previously when they tried to dismiss the prosecution. And you see the kind of response Judge Sullivan gave when they attempted to do that. He appointed, a special counsel, which is amicus curiae, which is the fancy Latin term for it, which is, Judge Gleason. He retired judge. He presided over, John Gotti trials and a lot of mob trials in the EDNY. I think it was the EDNY, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And, he's like, this is nonsense. This stinks. Why don't you, I'm charging you with investigating, the viability or the validity, or whether or not there's any kind of corrupt intent, with the dismissal of Flynn's prosecution. I have a strange feeling he may do the same thing again, keep Gleason on, and just have him to investigate this pardon to see whether or not, yet again, we have corrupt intent.
Right. It's interesting.
If Trump is intertwined in any of the nonsense that Flynn was part of Flynn's plea agreement, which I think he is, and in terms of lying to the FBI, we had one count of 1001 violation. I think that it's going to be very difficult, for this pardon to bear fruit, so to speak, for Trump and Flynn.
So you actually think that, and I know Glenn Kirshner thinks the same, but that these pardons can be challenged? They could all be challenged?
In my opinion, let me just set the stage. A presidential pardon has never been challenged in the history of the Republic. However, we're dealing with something very unique. We're dealing with, a traitor, a criminal, a mobster, as POTUS. And he's using the powers of the presidency to further, his criminal enterprise. Mm-hmm. As I say this, just because you may be lawfully allowed to do something, if, you have a specific power, if your intent, you use a lawful power, for an unlawful purpose. If your intent is to just clear one of your co-conspirators, the pardon should be a legal nullity. The court will either quash or invalidate it in some manner, whatever verbiage they want to use, and continue on with sentencing. I mean, that's what we're up to with Flynn. It's a first time offender. It's 0 to 6 months that he would serve. He'd probably get like a month, 30 days or whatever. Depends on how it's a first time offender. I mean, he's not going to serve much time, and they're fighting so hard for him not to go to prison.
Mm.
I know they're fighting so hard because there's something underneath. There's something bigger than just lying to the FBI. And
right. I mean, treasonous.
I've never gotten to it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, Flynn was definitely in the mix. I've spoken to some people off the record about him, and in comparison, really, to all the other nonsense that's gone on here, he's a small player. He's a front. He's the public face of things, but he's not like the major, like a major dude.
Doesn't he implicate the president, though? Is there potential that he implicates the president in all of this, and that's where he's that important?
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of people are going to implicate the president because the president just has a habit of committing crimes. On so many instances, in so many different venues. And, 1 week in San Fran, next week we're in Miami. Maybe we'll go down to Nevada.
Roadshow of criminality.
It's like I always say, I think they're just trying to overwhelm law enforcement with crimes, so they can't get to prosecuting them. They just keep investigating crimes, and they're just overwhelmed.
That's a strategy.
So,
Eric, you were saying it's earlier today on Twitter that this is like a confession every time he hands out one of these pardons, that he's basically admitting guilt.
It's not just a theory. I mean, these are people he's had joint defense agreements with, where they're like, yeah, we're all part of the same team. So if Mr. Laufer could, you're the attorney, I'm going to let you take a shot at that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're sharing just think about that. You have a joint defense agreement with someone. Look,
I wonder what it means.
We really didn't rob that bank, but let's defend each other. And now I'm the president. I'm going to pardon you. So we killed the conspiracy, and we could just all go get a beer after this or something.
We shouldn't have presidents that need joint defense agreements in criminal trials. Are we all, though Biden has not told us enough about his cat.
The presidents also do not have attorneys like Rudy Giuliani, but this one does. And he is out there today asking for, or appealing for, I guess, a pardon for something that hasn't been charged for yet. It's a preemptive, I guess, pardon. Can you do that kind of thing? Like, can I please be pardoned for everything I've ever done?
A pardon can be issued, for just federal U.S., crimes committed under federal law, U.S. federal law. A pardon can be issued at any time after a crime is committed. You cannot issue a pardon preemptively. Like, I know tomorrow I'm going to go rob a bank, so I'm going to ask my buddy POTUS to give me a pardon so I can rob the bank with impunity and not be prosecuted. Now, you rob the bank, and then you ask your buddy POTUS, can you hook me up? And then you get the pardon, and then the bank robbery thing, federal bank robbery charges go away. That's the way it works.
I mean, there's nothing criminal looking going on here at all. I mean, this looks like just a couple of guys hanging out together,
At the Grand Havana. That's Jared's house, by the way. Everybody.
Just having a good time, having a few cigars.
Yeah.
Plotting a Ukrainian scenario of some sort. Nothing going on there. Nothing criminal. Can you believe these guys? Narativ is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative.